Arrow and the Pain. In a remote village, nestled amidst rolling hills, there lived a wise old monk named Koji. He was known throughout the region for his profound teachings on suffering and enlightenment. Villagers often sought his guidance, and he would share his wisdom in the tranquil courtyard of his modest hut. One day, a young and curious traveler named Kenji arrived at the village. Kenji had heard tales of the enlightened monk and was eager to learn from him. He sought out Koji and found him sitting beneath a blooming cherry tree, his eyes closed in deep meditation. Kenji respectfully waited for Koji to finish his meditation. When the monk finally opened his eyes and acknowledged Kenji's presence, the traveler asked, "Master Koji, I have heard of your teachings on suffering. Could you please enlighten me?" Koji smiled kindly and gestured for Kenji to sit beside him. "Of course, young one," he began. "Let me share with you the parable of the arrow and the pain. Imagine," Koji continued, "that you are walking through a forest when suddenly an arrow strikes you in the leg. The pain is sharp and intense. What do? Kenji furrowed his brow in thought. "I would pull out the arrow and tend to my wound," he replied. Koji nodded. "Indeed. But what if, before you tend to your wound, you begin to ask questions? Who shot the arrow? What kind of arrow is it? Why did it hit me? Who is responsible for this pain?" Kenji contemplated the monk's words and replied, "Master, I would be wasting precious time and energy by dwelling on such questions. The focus should be on relieving the pain and healing the wound." Koji smiled again, his eyes twinkling with approval. "You see, young one, the arrow represents the inevitable pains and sufferings of life. The loss, the disappointments, the heartaches. These are like arrows that can strike anyone at any time. But just as you wisely said, it is in our best interest to address the pain first and foremost, without becoming entangled in the complexities of its origins." Kenji's eyes widened as understanding dawned upon him. "So, the arrow itself is not as important as how we respond to the pain it brings?" "Exactly," Koji affirmed. "Suffering is a part of life, but our reaction to it determines the extent of our anguish. The arrow of pain is beyond our control, but our attitude, our perspective, and our ability to find peace amidst the pain, that is within our power." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Koji and Kenji sat in contemplative silence beneath the cherry tree. The parable of the arrow and the pain had struck a chord in Kenji's heart. He realized that the path to enlightenment was not about avoiding pain, but about embracing it with equanimity and compassion. Kenji bid farewell to Koji the next morning, his heart brimming with gratitude. As he journeyed onward, he carried with him the profound lesson of the arrow and the pain, a lesson that would guide him through life's trials and tribulations, always reminding him to focus on healing the wound rather than dwelling on the source of suffering. And in time, Kenji too would become a source of wisdom and inspiration to others, passing down the parable of the arrow and the pain to the generations that followed.